Well, this is from 2019. So it's time to put faces to names. When people read the definition of free white persons, they see Moorish and North African and immediately think it means the Moors. All right, so no, it does not. They're very specific of who they are talking about. So let's look closely at this definition. First thing you must understand is that this status of free white persons is based on an act of law. It's not a natural construct. It's absolutely a form of social engineering. Act, the definition. A bill has passed through the various legislative steps required for it and which has become law. Related terms, statute, legislation, law, regulation, enactment, bill, synonymous with the term enactment or statute. So, acts can be overturned. They are not written in stone. They are subject to change. It's a man-made law designed to control people. Now, the act in question is the Naturalization Act. Naturalization is the legal process through which a foreign citizen or national can become a U.S. citizen. In order to be naturalized, an applicant must first meet certain criteria to apply for citizenship. Then the applicant must complete an application, attend an interview, and pass an English and civics test. So these are requirements for foreign-born people to become naturalized as Americans. Now let's look at who this act was originally created for. All persons, this is the 1871 Naturalization Act, right, which created the free white persons. All persons belonging to European races, then commonly counted as white. This is the definition. The term white in this usage is referring to skin color, not some imaginary status. The act itself is for the United States and has no jurisdiction over the countries mentioned. It is speaking to those people from those European races who wish to come under the jurisdiction, or European nations who wish to come under the jurisdiction of the United States. So it says all persons belonging to European races, then commonly counted as white, and their descendants, including such descendants in other countries to which they have emigrated. So what they're saying is the white children that have now moved to other countries. So you must understand that it's only speaking of descendants of European races or nations commonly known as white, who now live in these places, not the original inhabitants of these places. So from there, it goes on to say, Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal, right? The mixed Greek, Latin, Phoenicians, and North African inhabitants of Sicily. Nowhere does it say North Africans in general. It says North African inhabitants of Sicily. You understand? So that would be North Africans who are currently living in Sicily. So the only North African that is being labeled as a free white person is one who comes from Sicily. Nowhere does it say Moors in general. It says Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal. Spain and Portugal were responsible for the slave trade. They're the ones who pretty much started slavery in that in terms of with the Portuguese and the Spanish. They were doing it long before the British, right? So it says Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal, and nowhere does it mention Morocco. Now, the time frame they're speaking of is 1870. In 1870, the Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal were phenotypically modern-day Portuguese and Spaniards, the very same people who initiated and played the biggest role in the transatlantic slave trade. Portugal started the European slave trade with Africa. Prince Henry, the navigator of Portugal, sent a trading expedition to Africa to explore the little-known continent in 1441. By 1444, a cargo of 235 enslaved Africans had been brought to Lagos in Portugal. The Portuguese were using enslaved Africans on sugar plantations in Madeira, a Portuguese island off the west coast of Africa. In 1460, they built the first slave fort in 1481 on the coast of modern Ghana. So these Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal are not modern-day Negroes. The act is clearly a way for Europeans to become U.S. citizens. The act was created to increase the number of so-called white people in America. So this is when the majority of white people would have been coming to the Americas. Prior to that, it was just the settlers. So there were far more people of color here than there were white people, what we consider white people. So then goes on to state, right? This is the important thing. It then goes on to state, does not include the Caucasian race. So the Caucasian race was not considered free white people. The Aryan race or Indo-European races, nor Indo-European, Dravidian, Semitic, or Mongolian people who inhabit Persia. So any type of ethnicity could not be a free white person. Anyone who truly knows Moorish history knows that many of the Moors who were exiled fled to Persia and what was called the Ottoman Empire. So the people who inhabit Persia are not able to become free white people. Now let's look at the term Caucasian. Caucasian are simply Asians who occupy the Caucasus Mountains. They are Asiatics, not Europeans. We call so-called Europeans Caucasians, but that is a misnomer. They are not from Asia. Caucasian is another identity that Europeans have stolen for themselves, much like South African or American. And finally, Assyrian or Asiatic birth could not be a free white person. So basically, they're identifying anybody that's connected to like ethnicities, anybody connected to the former Moorish inhabitants of Spain. See, they didn't even consider anybody from Africa. You see that? Only North Africa, because why? It was occupied by people from Spain. All right. So now, what I'm getting to is, so let's wrap this up. What was happening is that the United States was beginning a process of increasing their population by allowing the lighter pigmented European races to now become U.S. citizens, aka Americans. The very same races who had generally been slaves, right, Slavs, all across Europe. This is why they coined the term free white persons, because up until this time, many of these European races had been enslaved by other nations. So the United States was creating a safe haven for these people and offering them a new status and identity as white people. The United States, in one calculated move, created a new race of people collectively known as white Americans or free white people. White people is a racial classification specifier used mostly and often inclusively for people of European descent, depending on context, nationality, and point of view. The term at times been expanded to encompass persons of Middle Eastern and North African descent. For example, in the U.S. Census definition, persons who are often considered non-white in other contexts, the uses of white person or a white race for a larger group of mainly or exclusively European populations. defined by their light skin among other physical characteristics and contrasting with black people. Amerindians and other colored people are persons of color, right? So here in the census, it's identifying black people and Amerindians as different people. Originating in the 17th century. It was only during the 19th century that this vague category was transformed into a quasi-scientific system of race and skin color relations. The term Caucasian is sometimes used as a synonym for white in its racial sense, and sometimes to refer to a larger racial category that includes white people among other groups. Among other groups. All right, the concept of a unified white race did not achieve universal acceptance in Europe when it first came into use in the 17th century or in the centuries afterward. The strongest proponent of racialism in the 20th century Europe, Nazi Germany, regarded some European people such as Slavs as racially distinct from themselves. Prior to the modern age, no European people regarded themselves as white, but rather defined their race, ancestry, or ethnicity in terms of their nationality. Moreover, there is no accepted standard for determining the geographic barrier between white and non-white people. Contemporary anthropologists and other scientists, while recognizing the reality of biological variations between human populations, regard the concept of a white race as socially constructed. So here's the free white person's definition, right? So this is where it says free white persons referring to the Naturalization Act, right? So what I went to earlier, I went into the actual Naturalization Act. As amended by Act July 14th, 1870, was meaning naturally given to it when first used in first statute 103, circa 3, meaning all persons belonging to European races then commonly counted as white and their descendants, including such descendants as in other countries to which they have emigrated. It includes all European Jews, more or less intermixed with people of Celtic, Scandinavian, Teutonic, Iberian, Latin, Greek, and Slavic descent. You understand? You see that? Says it right there. 1870. It includes European Jews, more or less intermixed with people of Celtic, Scandinavian, Teutonic, Iberian, Latin, Greek, and Slavic descent. This is when they opened the borders to all these people that they are claiming were slaves. It was after slavery ended, and it was to populate the Americas with people that they now were labeling free white people. Let me continue. It includes Magyars, Lapis, and Finns, and the Basque and Albanians. It includes the mixed Latin, Celtic Iberian, and Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal. It's all it says about the Moors. Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal, and mixed Greek, Latin, Phoenician, and North African inhabitants of Sicily, right? So when the Moors be telling you we're free white people, this is what they're basing it on. And they're basing it on seeing Moorish inhabitants. They just see the word Moorish and lose their minds and don't read it all the way through. Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal. Doesn't say Moors. Doesn't say North Africans. It says what? Phoenician and North African inhabitants of Sicily. It's not saying North Africans are free white people. It says North African inhabitants of Sicily. So that's the people that live on a whole another island. Those aren't Africans at this point. They live on another island in the Mediterranean. In the mixed Slav and Tartar inhabitants of South Russia. So here we got them accepting Jews with Slavic descent, as well as Slavic groups from Russia. All right. So this is when all these so-called Slavs, because there was the slaves. Yeah, there was the slaves back in Europe. They wasn't the slaves here. They came here to get away from all that shit. They came here to recover from all those years of oppression in Europe. And when they got here, they found an even greater oppression. So, where else were we? It does not mean Caucasian race, Aryan race, or Indo-European races. Because at that time, right, the Caucasian race, the Aryan race, and the Indo-European races, nor the mixed Indo-European Dravidians, none of them could be considered as fucking free white people, right? You associate Aryan with Europeans, with white people. Indo-European races, who are they? Because they damn sure couldn't be free white people in America, in the United States, nor the mixed Indo-European, Dravidian, Semitic, and Mongolian people who inhabit Persia. So the Semitic people that are up here, they cool. The Jews and all that up here. But the ones down here that was in Persia, right, which is associated with the Ottoman Empire, hope you're putting all this together, right? So a Syrian or of Asiatic birth and descent will not be entitled to become a naturalized citizen. Oh, yeah. Citizen of the United States as being a free white person. This is important. So that right there, if I don't know if you're aware of what that's stating. I don't know if you understand what this is stating, if you're putting it together, but naturalized is an act which makes you a citizen, right? And the form of citizen you are, right? Or the classification of citizen you are is called free white persons. See? So, are you putting all this together? Who's with me? Who's with me and understands what that's saying to them? Somebody want to jump on? Because I'm showing you something right here. Now I'm showing you Slav, them people ain't come here until 1870, and there's laws that created the path for them to come here. And I'm showing it to you. The Slavic people came here based on the 1870 Naturalization Act, and it identifies them in the act amongst many other people. Because these so-called white, free white people, or people that we call white in America, are a group of a bunch of different Europeans and Indo-European people. You understand? But not the mixed Indo-European people, not them niggas. But all these people are people that we would consider to be Russians and fucking Yugoslavians and Estonians and French people and German people and all these different groups. They're all being named right in this act. 1870, it's on the records. It's telling you when all these people came. Now let's get to it. All right. So now let's get to this. What does this mean? Naturalized citizen of the United States as being a free white person. Okay, let's end the bullshit. Let's end this. They changed my status. My status is from Negro to colored, and they keep changing my status. No, status is citizen. You can be born a citizen, or you can be naturalized to become a citizen. The only status is citizen. Now, what types of citizens you are is based on your ethnicity and so they can identify your communities. So you are a citizen of the United States. because you were born here. And this category that you fall in is either going to be a free person of color, right? It's going to be colored. It's going to be Negro. All that can change. That's interchangeable. African American, they're not changing your status. They're changing the label that you are labeled under. But your status as a citizen did not change. Do you understand? It's just they're changing what they call you. It's like saying to you, oh, well, we moved where you niggas pick your check up. You're like, damn. Every week they keep telling us we got to pick our check up at someplace else. Yeah, nigga, but you still picking your check up. The inconvenience is that they keep changing the location where you got to pick your fucking check up. But you're still getting the check. Why? Because you're still entitled to it because you're a citizen. Do you understand? That's the only status. There is no other, oh, I'm trying to correct my status. Your status is citizen. You're trying to change how they identify you. It don't matter what they enumerate you as, you're enumerated. Y'all are arguing over, well, no, they call me this. The fact that they're calling you is the issue. You're worried about what they called you. The fact that you're on the list is the issue. If you're your own people, you're not supposed to be on their list. Feel like I can't find my people past 1800. Then them niggas was either not in the country or them niggas was not a part of the United States and they were not being enumerated. So why are you looking on their fucking records? I can't get past 1800s. Maybe them niggas was really Indians, which means they ain't gonna be on these motherfuckers' records. Maybe them niggas was really Africans and didn't get here till a certain time. Like, the only status there is citizen. And if you have a social security number, you are a citizen. And they've never changed your social security number. I was born in 1970, wherever we were then. That was before Jesse Jackson, so we wasn't African American then. I guess we were black. I don't know what the fuck we were. But when I was born, we was not African American. Then we became African American. But guess what? They didn't change my motherfucking social security number. That shit stayed the same. So what the fuck is niggas talking about status correction? It's a whole bunch to do about nothing because these niggas don't know what the fuck they talking about, but it sound good and it's enticing and it's exciting. So now we're going to get to, because it ain't over. So in Senate Act, a bill which is passed through the various legislative steps required for it and which has become law. All right. Naturalization, legal process through which a foreign citizen and national can become U.S. citizen, right? That's the status, U.S. citizen. There's no other statuses. So here we go. These are images of the very people that were allowed to come to the Americas. And these are images from the time, right? So this is what the European Jews, aka free white people, this is what they look like in that time, 1870. All right? Scandinavian people, 1800s. This is what they look like. So when these Moors is telling you free white people is Moors, is black people, and status is something other than U.S. citizen, it's a fucking lie. It's all a fucking lie. And people at this point who are regurgitating the lie don't even understand it because they take things on face value because they worship a mystery God. Word is bond. They not 5%. They worship mystery gods. They can't prove nothing. They speak on. That's the 10% trying to spook you. Teutonic people. Clearly what we would call white folks. Iberian man. There you go. Images of these people from the time. Latin man. All right. These are Greeks. These are all the people that were included in the free white persons. These are the people that flooded the United States, came through Ellis Island, all of that. Slavic people. These are the Slavs that you see pictures of baling cotton. But what they're not telling you is those cotton fields that they're working on, many of them own those fields. These people came here, and under this act, many grants were created. The Merrill Land Grant was one of them, 1871, to facilitate these people expanding west. These are the people that filled the Bible belts and places like that. Magyars. These people. These are Lapps. This ain't no looks like. This is these people. Finns. Basque people. Albanians. Mixed Latin, Polish, Mexicans. This is a picture I found, mixed Latin and Polish Mexicans. These are Mexicans. These are people who live in Mexico. These are kids born in Mexico, but they're of mixed Latin and Polish descent. Celtic Iberians. Now look, they starting to look a little ethnic look. You look, she's starting to look a little bit like an Indian. These are Celtic Iberians. Here go these people. Now, these are the Moorish inhabitants of Spain. You see how ethnic they look? See that? The Moorish inhabitants of Spain. But they're the ones that got to come here as free white people. Now, these are the most black-looking people. These are the people that, motherfucker. Now, these are the people that could not come. Indo-Europeans. This is what an Indo-European looks like. And they could not come to the Americas in 1870. Caucasians. Here go your Caucasians. Look at these. Listen, he got an afro. Look at this. He got a hairdo like Esther's husband. Go watch Sanford and Son. This nigga boozing his top piece like, God, his name, old drum nigga. Those are Caucasians in the 1800s. These are Aryans in the 1800s. These people could not come to the Americas as free white people. Dravidian woman. Nope, you not white. Semitic people. See the more ethnic ones? See that the other ones, they could come. These, nope, y'all not coming. Mongolians. Now look at these black motherfuckers. Look at these niggas. These is Mongolians. 1900, wedding party in Seoul. Mongolians. Look at these niggas. That woman look like my mother. One of these women look like my mother. Look at that. Look at this bro. And these is niggas y'all talking about. Bunch of Mongolians. Look at these niggas. Y'all looking at modern people and think that people that exist now was the same people that existed then. That's okay, though. Biography showing you different. This is how you're supposed to use this shit. Persians, see, they fezzed up. More like, look, staying there with the fezzes on. Looking white and could not be free white people. Persians, Ottoman Empire. Syrians, they definitely was not letting y'all come over here, one of them goddamn camels, as no free white people. Only place you're going to see a white man on a camel is in Hollywood. These motherfuckers could not come. This is 1940. And my mom was about to be born. And this shit was going on in Syria. It's still going on. Y'all not. So here is a book called Journey to America, The Chronology of Immigration in the 1900s. Look at all them white people. That's a slave ship. Look at that. That's what they tell you is the slave ship. That's the shit they be trying to tell y'all is the slave shit that the white people came on. Them motherfuckers are immigrating because the United States is telling them you can come here and have a status called free white persons. And them niggas is like, hell yeah, we are on our way. 12 million over the next 50 years. Look at that. Look at all them people in that boat. That's just 1/4 of the boat. That's just the top of the boat. How many people you think is in that boat? And this is how these Europeans was coming here in the 1870s on up to 1910, I believe. 1920. This is what led up into the Great Depression. All these people coming here.